Hello and welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Big Italy 42 and he is Spencer Limbach at Spencer_JL on Twitter. And we're talking about Kershaw Day, aka tonight's slate, Friday night. And maybe a little misconception that the Colorado Rockies have been a good offense this year. What they have not been is a good offense against lefties, especially on the road. Their numbers against lefties this year, 25th in the league in WOBA. 24.6% strikeout rate, a 108 team ISO, which is among the worst in the league, and 68 weighted runs created plus. They are arguably across the board the worst team against left-handed pitching. Just so happen to get the best pitcher in the entire world in Clayton Kershaw, who just so happens to absolutely own them in Dodger Stadium. If I'm not mistaken, his last two starts, 12 strikeouts and 15 strikeouts at home against the Rockies.
Yeah, the no-hitter.
Yeah. If you're not playing Clayton Kershaw tonight, you lose.
Yeah, and here's the thing with that is there's not much opportunity cost. I mean, usually when you have Kershaw on the mound, there's a few guys in the 8K, 9K range that you can reasonably roster, and they can, get you somewhere close to his production, maybe on a per dollar basis. But I'm not seeing those guys tonight. For me, it's pretty much Kershaw or bust, especially in cash games. And we're looking at FanDuel here, and if you click Kershaw in, you have about 3K per positional player. And I think that's reasonable. I think you can build a solid cash game lineup with that left. Just penciling Kershaw in for the 11K.
Yeah, and you got 14 games on tonight's slate, so there's not going to be any shortage of value options. So we'll be able to easily get him in, and I think you're going to need to you have to have him in cash games tonight. And like you said, there's some other names around that lower price, but none of them in great matchups. Michael Pineda may be a popular pick off that last great start, but now he gets Kansas City, who doesn't strike out. And, they're one of the better hitting teams in the league. So certainly not expecting big things of him. Vegas isn't either. He's a very small favorite. Dallas Keuchel, similar too.
One more thing I want to mention with Pineda is that there's weather concerns in that game.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, we got 50% to 65% chance of rain throughout the evening in Kansas City, so pay attention to that, definitely.
Absolutely. So if you're looking at other options, if we got to throw a couple guys out there, Bartolo Colon seems like a fair option at $8,600. Like I said, everyone else is GPP only for me, especially with one pitcher on FanDuel. But, going against a Milwaukee team that's really struggling, striking out a lot, and Bartolo just gets it done. Still doesn't walk anyone. He hasn't walked anyone since April 6th. And, he just pitches 6, 7 innings, 7+ sometimes. And he's striking out a decent amount of batters right now, too, at over 20%. So, Bartolo's got to be, I guess, my B option. But I struggle to even say B because Kershaw's so far above everyone else. I say he's the C option for me tonight.
Yeah. Kershaw's A, B, maybe C, and Cologne's D.
Yep.
But if you're looking at win probability, he's a minus 160 favorite, which is the next best behind Kershaw's. That pretty much doubles that at 325. Other Madison Bumgarner is also a minus 160, but on the road at Cincinnati, high price point. I really don't want to go that direction tonight. Maybe a swerve play for GPPs just in case something happens to Kershaw, but that's such a small percentage. I don't want to risk that.
Yeah.
Some other guys we're looking at, these are more tournament plays. I'm going to throw off Phil Hughes, not to sound like a homer, but Tampa Bay, they have one of the lower totals of the day aside from the Rockies. We're looking at 3.5 projected runs. Phil Hughes, he struggled with the deep ball this season. That's kind of been his fallback. But in Minnesota, the pitcher-friendly park, they have some very, very generous dimensions to pitchers there at Target Field. I think he can end, the Rays, they don't hit home runs. They don't hit for power. So maybe this is where Phil Hughes turns it around, gets about 5, 6, 7 strikeouts. He's favored tonight. The Twins bat better at home. Maybe he's a reasonable GPP play if you're swerving off of Kershaw.
Yeah, and one of the Rays' few strengths at the plate is that they walk a lot. And as we know, Phil Hughes historically good at not walking any batters and giving up free passes. So that plays into his favor too. So yeah, I like that call. That's a fine call. And when you're looking down deeper here, there's really, just nobody I want to touch. Man, it's really tough. I don't think I'm going to be paying down a pitcher. I think I'm staying up at the top, and I honestly FanDuel, I'll probably have Kershaw on all of my teams. I'll probably throw Colon in a couple of GPPs, maybe your guy there, Phil Hughes, or maybe Clay Buchholz at Seattle, who hasn't hit right-handed pitching particularly well. He's had some really good starts. He's also had some bad starts. We know that about Clay Buchholz. But, I mean, when he's good, he's really good. And we know that this Mariners team, 21st in the league against righties this year, below league average. They're not hitting for any power. So as long as Buchholz can keep those walks under control, I think he could be in line for a decent GPP night.
Yeah, I don't mind that. One more guy, real quick. Rodon, is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think so.
For the White Sox at Oakland on the road. He had a great start last time around. He's only 5.8K. In Oakland, they hit righties much better than lefties if you just go down the lineup and see who has the platoon advantage. So maybe GPP flyer, just keep him on your radar if you want to stack around him.
Yeah, actually, to further that point, the A's are second to last against lefties this year. 0.06 ISO. So they still don't strike out a lot, but zero power against lefties. I like that call a lot. And we know Rodon with some big-time strikeout upside. He had 8 in that last start there. So,
yep.
All right. Let's move on here to catcher where, to sound like the opposite of a homer, I do like Buster Posey in Great American Ballpark against Jason Marquis, who struggles against righties. Same old story we've heard there a million times, but if I'm paying up at catcher, it's got to be for Buster Posey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a lot better than any of the other guys I'm seeing at the similar price range. 3.5K, not very prohibitive as well. So some other guys I'm looking at, if you want cheaper options, if you can't fit them in with Kershaw, Yasmani Grandal, always sitting there, 3.1K. I don't mind if he's batting, 6th or 7th in the lineup like he has been. I think he has decent RBI potential in that spot against Eddie Butler, who, to call him an average pitcher would be generous. He's slightly below average. So I like him there in that spot. If you want to go even cheaper, Jason Castro against R.A. Dickey. I mean, it's tough to get a handle on how guys are going to hit R.A. Dickey because it just depends if his knuckler's working or not. But Castro at a cheap price point, I think he's worth the risk. Usually a boomer bust option, he's going to give you a home run or he's going to go 0 for 4, but he's shown okay contact lately on top of that power upside. So 2.4K, don't really mind it if you need some value.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that he's been a nice cheap punt play for me recently as well, so I'm on board with that play. Some tournament options here. You got Robinson Trinos has a nice power against lefties, and Bruce Chin is just awful.
Oh, man, that's a great call. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so he's got great splits there, and he never, ever is highly owned, so I love that call, 2.4. And outside of that, no thanks. I'm trying to get Buster Posey in my lineups tonight.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here to first base. As always, a ton of great options. We've got some interesting guys. A lot of guys more for tournaments. I think if I'm paying up for my cash games, I'm probably going to go with Freddie Freeman against David Phelps tonight at 3,700. Some other more expensive guys I kind of like a little bit better, but I mean, you got a $1,600 difference between him and Paul Goldschmidt, $800 between him and Miggy. So, I mean, I just like that matchup against the epitome of an average pitcher in David Phelps.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman's sitting at 3.7K, so he doesn't have that price level like guys like Adrian Gonzalez and them, who actually Adrian is probably the top overall play in terms of raw production tonight, but that price point, you can't really fit him in with Kershaw.
Yep.
Like we said, you're looking about the 3K range, maybe a little up, maybe a little down, just depending how you organized your lineup. So I don't really mind Freddie Freeman in that spot. Chris Davis, 3.6K. I think he's an interesting tournament option. I kind of want to pick on Jared Weaver tonight. He was great in his last start, but aside from that, he's been bad. I mean, this whole season. And Vegas tends to agree. The Orioles are one of the highest projected scoring teams tonight at 4.52 runs at home. So Chris Davis, I'm keeping him on my tournament radar. But from the same game, tell me if I'm wrong here. For some reason, I keep gravitating towards Albert Pujols against lefty Chen, the other Chen, the better Chen, we should say, pitching. But Albert Pujols, 2.9K. He's had a nice string of solid production lately. I really don't mind that. I like his upside. I think he's in a decent spot here, the righty-lefty matchup.
Yeah, and Chen's had more struggles with righties than lefties, obviously. And so 2.9K, I think he makes a really good cash game play there because he's not showing the upside he once did, but like you said, he's making good contact. He's putting the ball in play. So that's all you really want around there. If you're digging deeper below that, none of these hitters you really trust in any of these matchups. So outside of that, Jose Abreu is still too cheap, $3,500.
I was going to say.
He's going to be back in the lineup here against Jesse Hahn, who is yet again another average pitcher. And you got to like coming off a day of rest, Jose Abreu. I'm a big fan of his at $3,500 if I can fit him in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and move on here to second base where there are some options. You already mentioned Baltimore. I'm with you. I want to pick on Jared Weaver. I don't think he's a good pitcher at all. So Jimmy Paredes at 3.5 is one of my favorite plays there at second base tonight. I always like D. Gordon at $3,900 here. Tonight he gets Julio Teheran, who some think he's elite, some think he's very good. I'm selling Julio Teheran. I'm not a big fan of Julio Teheran.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit overrated. I mean, he has some good starts, but he gets hit by lefties too. I mean, his splits aren't very overwhelming against left-handed batters, so I don't mind that call. Paredes was the number one guy on my list as well, so 3.5K, really like that. Have him in my initial lineup as we're looking at it here. Another guy, Robinson Cano, too cheap for his talent level against Clay Buchholz tonight, who, I mean, that's not going to scare me off at all. He hasn't been great lately. He's just been his 1 for 4, maybe an RBI, maybe not, maybe a couple fantasy points. But I like him for cash games. 3.4 is way too cheap for him. Otherwise, looking down the list here, we have that's all I had on my list, actually. I don't really know if I like anyone too cheap. Maybe Joe Panic, 2.6K, if you want to dip down there. Marquise, one of the worst pitchers, I'd say bottom 5 pitchers in action tonight, and Great American's a nice ballpark. He has some run scoring potential in the 2-hole, so 2.6K Joe Panic would be the value play if you need some at that position.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. 7 home runs allowed already by Jason Marquis, as we know. One of the better hitters parks in the game in Great American, so I'm with you there. That's going to be about as deep as I'm going as well. Moving on here to third base, Matt Carpenter. If you played him in the early games yesterday, struck out his first 3 at-bats.
Yeah.
Everyone was furious, including myself. Turned it around with a 2-run home run in his next at-bat that got over the wall by about an inch. So, Matt Carpenter, I always love playing him in cash games. He's not going to make it in my cash game tonight because I'm certainly not paying $4K for him with Kershaw, but he still makes for a good play. Manny Machado, going along those Baltimore lines, he's 3.7. He's interesting. And a tournament play here because he is facing a good lefty, but it's still lefty. Josh Donaldson at $3,800 against Dallas Keuchel. We know arguably the best ground ball pitcher in the game. Excuse me. But Josh Donaldson with massive upside against lefties.
Yeah, and he's a fly ball hitter. So, I mean, if you ever look at those ground ball splits, you want to take the fly ball hitters against ground ball pitchers because, I mean, if they make a mistake, it's going to go. So Manny Machado, I would categorize him with Donaldson as a GPP play at that price point. But the play that I want at third base is Adrian Beltre. We have, let's see, the Texas games, one of the higher projected scoring games on the night against Bruce Chen, the fly ball pitcher. That's about all you can say. It's a fair price point too, and he's been heating up. He has a nice hitting streak going on. So Adrian Beltre, 3.1K. I think I'm going to lock him for cash games.
Yeah, he's my play as well. I'm completely with you there. If you're looking for cheaper options here, not a lot that I love. A guy that's been swinging a nice. I missed it. Who did I lose here? I had someone on my list. I lost him. Nick Castellanos, a guy who's been hitting the ball pretty well, is who it was. 2.2K absolute minimum. We know Carlos Martinez has great stuff, but he's been erratic at times. If Castellanos is batting around 6th in the lineup, I don't mind him as a punt if you can't afford Beltre.
Yeah, Castellanos hit the rare home run yesterday that really didn't look like a home run. He didn't know. It barely went over the wall and bounced back, and he just kind of stopped at second base, and he was like, wait, I actually hit a home run? Yeah. What is this? What do I do? Someone teach me.
A lot of weird stuff in that game, too, like Rajai Davis with that ball in right field. Everyone knew he didn't catch the ball, and he just kind of sat there waiting. And then they just finally reviewed it and let him go to the dugout. So that was a fun game to watch, for sure. But
it wasn't that fun for me.
Yeah, if you didn't have much Miggy, it was not fun. I had some, not enough. So I'm not saying it was a profitable game, but it was a fun game either way.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's move on here to shortstop. You can play Troy Tulowitzki. I won't be doing that. So if you'd like to, go ahead. He doesn't have
It's
terrible
against the
numbers.
lefty.
Yeah, but it's the lefty.
Yeah.
I mean, people can argue splits all they want. He's been okay against Kershaw. Don't play Troy Tulowitzki tonight unless you're just trying to be crazy. Be that guy. Alcides Escobar has been a good shortstop play for quite some time here. He's got a tough matchup now against Michael Pineda. Obviously, some weather concerns there as well. A guy that I've been gravitating towards because he's been batting second has been Brad Miller. Been hitting the ball pretty well. Went 1 for 3 last night. Didn't do a whole lot. His price is starting to creep up. But I don't mind him tonight against Clay Buchholz again.
Yeah, I like that. If he's in the top half of the lineup, especially, look his way. A few more guys. Elvis Andrus, 2.6K. Picking on Bruce Chen again. Hopefully has a nice lineup spot as well, which he should. I think he should be batting second or so. We'll see. I don't know. Texas really hasn't faced many lefties tonight, so I don't know how that lineup will shake out, but Andrus should be in the top half. Eric Ibar, he's not a guy with excellent upside, but 2.4K, I mean, he's got, 7 hits in his past 3 games, so, I mean, he's seeing the ball well. Still very low price point. I don't really mind him as a punt option if you're looking down there. And Marcus Simeon was a guy who rated pretty high until I saw his price point. I was pretty enthusiastic on him. 3.5K is a little too much. I think shortstop is a position to save, but he probably has one of the higher upside of the shortstop tonight. So maybe if you're looking at a GPV play, and I mean, you have the cap space, which might be difficult if you're trying to get Kershaw, but just keep him on your radar nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to throw out one more guy for you here who's been up batting second, quietly batting well over 300, having a nice season. Is Freddie Galvis, 2.4K. 3 hits last night, 2 hits the night before. He stole a base. He's just putting the ball in play, and he's not striking out. He's not walking a lot either, but he's putting the ball in play, and you really want that type of floor in your cash game. So I really like him a lot tonight.
Yeah, Chase Anderson, I mean, he doesn't scare me.
No.
I mean, yeah, hitter-friendly park. Don't mind that.
All right, let's move on here to the final position in the outfield. All right, give me your name. If you're paying up for one guy in the outfield, where are you going?
It's not really paying up, but it's kind of the mid-range. It's a bigger name. Adam Jones, 3.6K, is probably someone I want to lock into most of my lineups. He has decent splits against righties as he does lefties. So Jared Weaver, like we said, Vegas doesn't like him tonight, and neither do I. So I'm picking on him. I'm picking my spots with him. I think Adam Jones and Jimmy Paredes are the two that I'm going to go with from Baltimore, is what it looks like as of now. That could change, obviously. But, I mean, I just like the price point for both of them, especially Adam Jones, 3.6K. Hasn't really done much lately, but, I mean, we're just getting a discount. That's all that means.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I like that call. His price is just dropping. So I've been taking advantage as well. A nice tournament option is Steven Souza, hitting for nice power. If you're not a believer in Phil Hughes, has given up a lot of home runs this year. He's an interesting play there.
Yeah, and he's a guy that park factors really don't matter to him.
Yeah.
I mean, when he hits a home run, it's a home run in any ballpark. Like 460 feet. Like that thing's going to be out.
Oh, he destroys the ball. You gotta love that. And another interesting play here is Anthony Gose. We know leadoff hitters for Detroit. I like to play them against. Yes, Martinez above average, but like I said, Wild. So maybe walks the first batter. Always run opportunities. I mean, Tiger scored 13 runs last night, and Anthony Gose scored 2 of them. He had 4 hits, including a triple. And I'm a big fan of his there.
Yeah, to further that point, Carlos Martinez, 359 Wolba split against lefties. Just a 12% strikeout rate, so a lot of balls in play, and I mean, you know, they're going for extra bases too, so really don't mind taking the lefties against Martinez.
Yeah, that's a great call right there. Good point to further that, and you know, like we said, if the Tigers, it seems like they score 1 run or 12 runs most nights. So if that's the case, then yeah, he could certainly be in line for a nice night. So. Looking at some other options, obviously Bryce Harper is the hottest hitter in the entire world, but $5,600, there's no way I can afford him tonight. I wish I could, but if that's the case, I'd be getting Kershaw, Posey, and Bryce Harper and no one else anywhere else. So that's certainly not going to happen. Some other guys that are interesting, I like George Springer in tournaments as well, $3,900 against R.A. Dickey. Only 2 games back from his injury, but he did hit a home run his first game back. He's a guy that can kind of do it all. He can put up points in a hurry with stolen bases as well. So I'm looking at his way in tournaments if I'm paying up to.
Yeah, a couple more, Jacoby Ellsbury and Brett Gardner. If you don't want to go the Adam Jones route and you have a little extra cap space, I don't mind either of those guys, weather permitting in Kansas City. Chris Young, fly ball pitcher. I mean, same old story with him. Just pitches to contact, doesn't have a strikeout rate. So I don't really mind those 2 guys. Get on base, maybe steal a bag. A few more that I'm looking at. Andre Ethier, 3.1K. I don't love the price point, but I love the matchup. And I don't really see anyone else, unless I'm missing someone, in that lower 3K range that I really like. So, I mean, if you're looking at someone in that range to fill out your lineup, I don't mind Andre Ethier. And then we have the cheap guys looking down there. I have Alejandro De Aza, assuming he is back in the top half of that Baltimore lineup. He's been hitting the ball well the last few games after an extended struggle. So if you can fit him in and he has the lineup spot, I don't mind that. Seth Smith, always kind of a default cheap play against the mediocre righty, as Clay Buchholz kind of is nowadays.
Yep.
2.3K, don't mind that, and he might be batting leadoff again. One more guy who I think I like more than the other 2. Excuse me. And I'm not allergic to him tonight. Ryan Rayburn, 2.3K. He could be batting in the cleanup role, as he does sometimes against lefties. And Wandy Rodriguez, that game in Texas tonight, it might be a wild one. And Ryan Rayburn batting cleanup for Cleveland. I really like that call. I think he has the best matchup of those guys near the minimum salary in outfield, so I think I'm going to have him on several cash games.
Yeah, I think he'll be locked into my cash games as well. And with that, that's going to do it for us. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe and check out all of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com. We'll see you tomorrow.